From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? Halloween edition. It's Wake Up War Chant. I'm in the Midtown offices. Corey is going full wireless Wednesday, travailing this great country of ours in his vehicle, being an all-star father, joining us on the phone lines today. Corey, happy Halloween, friend. You stoked? You got your creepy girl, creepy lady hanging out in front of a window at the Beaufort Estate? Ready to rock?
Yeah, man. Always a great time of year. Halloween, not at all creepy or weird. Just good times. Brady's Halloween costume is a zombie football player. So hopefully he can scare some small children.
What part of his costume makes him a football player?
The jersey and the pads.
Okay.
But his face, I think, is all like cut up. I think.
Okay.
And I think there's blood on his jersey.
Sweet. What was the coolest Halloween costume you ever pulled off?
I went as a cow one time to a college Halloween party.
Okay.
My mom randomly had a cow costume. One of those where you stood up and you walked in. I mean, I didn't have to be on all fours, thankfully, but you stood up and I had a cow head where my face came out of the mouth, and then a bunch of udders on my stomach. It was good times. Good times. That was a fun reaction when I walked into that party because I didn't know that many people at that party. So that was fun. I'm sure all the women loved it.
How old were you?
Big turn on. I would have been 20, 21.
Okay. Solid. Did the ladies like the udders?
They kept squeezing them. So, I mean, I guess so. It's a good conversation starter.
Side note, Florida State sent us a depth chart midday on Tuesday. There is not one noticeable change on the depth chart from weeks prior. Naquan Murray showing up as a starter. So is DeAndre Francois, which could be valid, but obviously Naquan's not starting because Willie said he's going to suspend him. So I figure we could have some levity at the beginning of this show today because there's not a lot of hard hitting, meaty, sink your teeth into news. A few things we'll talk about, but still, it's Halloween. I'm taking a beating by my friends, Corey, about the pumpkin carving. Just kind of almost, where did I get the audacity of me to never have carved a pumpkin before in my life and go for the cat on the branch? I didn't think it was too overly ambitious. I thought everybody does this, too. Everyone's like, I've never carved a pumpkin. I thought that's like the rite of passage when you're dating somebody. Like, you carve a pumpkin on Halloween.
I think the carving is okay. It seems like you went to, like, a master-level course, though. Why wouldn't you have just done, like, eyes and a mouth? Like, something really simple for the first time.
I don't think she would have found that acceptable. She doesn't like
I think it's the thought that counts, and you went out and, I mean, what kind of single guy, bachelor pad, buys himself a pumpkin and carves it? I mean, I think you already went above and beyond.
Well, she bought the pumpkin. She bought the carving set. I just did the butchering.
Oh, well, yeah. She put a lot of pressure on you, actually. I'm going to kind of have to blame her.
Okay.
Like, she didn't really give you much choice. And, yeah, I guess you didn't feel like you could just do, like, a smiley face.
Yeah, I mean, we're flipping through
you had to go above and beyond.
Yeah, we were flipping through designs, and she's just like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I mean, look at it in a bad way, but we're like, all right, she obviously does not, this is not impressing her. I need to impress her. I'm at the state fair. I have to throw 3 strikes and break all these bottles and get her the big stuffed panda. You know, it wasn't one of these, I'll just get her the, I don't know, what's just like the little small stuffed animal after the little ring game. You throw the rings on the thing and they all just fall off. You know, I couldn't do that. It was like the crane game.
Right, you go big, or you go home. I understand.
Yeah. This question came in on the Tribal Council on the Renegade Express. Figured we'd just do it now since it's Halloween. Come from Enol_2000, Corey. He's a fan favorite. Always here. Stays loyal. Keeps tweeting. Never quits. He's never quit on us once, I don't think. He asked us, favorite Halloween candy you enjoyed seeing somebody drop into your bag during trick-or-treating as a kid. Also, real quick, a reminder, we'll do Renegade Express on Thursday. We'll take phone calls Friday, 850-792-5730. That's 850-792-5730. Corey, favorite candy you enjoyed seeing somebody drop into your bag?
I mean, I always liked apples. No, I'm just kidding. I would say, Reese's. It was always Reese's. That's the only real candy I'll eat. Yeah. Occasionally M&M's, peanut M&M's. But other than that, it's just Reese's all the time. So that's what I'm always looking for. Like Three Musketeers, Milky Ways, Mr. Good Bars. I mean, what is all that nonsense? Occasionally maybe a whatchamacallit. But all the other stuff is just gross. And I can tell, I don't understand candy corn at all. I really don't. I don't understand the appeal of it. It looks disgusting. It tastes disgusting. And it bothers me. Like usually an idea that's that bad, it runs its course and like it's out of our lives. Like New Coke or Cop Rock or something like that. A horrible idea, it's done. But candy corn stands the test of time, and nobody likes candy corn. So anyway, that's my rant. That's my Halloween rant.
How surprised would you be if I sat here and advocated on behalf of candy corn?
And you might tolerate it, but it's like peas, man. Nobody goes out of their way. Oh God, I gotta get some candy corn. Nobody in February is jonesing for candy corn.
But candy corn's like a Halloween. It's quintessential Halloween candy. Like I can have a Reese's cup in the middle of April. I can have a Snickers bar in July. I don't want candy corn in February. I actually do like candy corn, but in very small amounts. Like I don't want all the candy corn in the world. I think the worst is
that's how candy corn works. Small amounts.
I think
maybe two.
The worst. So what I liked, again, I don't know if I mentioned this before, the brown and the orange Tootsie Roll Pops, and any full size and sour apple blow pops, and any full size candy bar. We kind of lived in a little bit of a bougie neighborhood, so there's. Every few houses would go really, they'd go to the hilt, and they'd have, like, full-size candy bars they would give you. So if they had, like, a full-size Snickers, game over. But, like, Almond Joy Mounds, and then the worst are, to me, beyond candy corn, first off is the strawberry candy, the candy that's wrapped in the strawberry wrapper. I don't know why that's a thing.
Yeah, right.
And then just the original Tootsie Roll, like the small mini Tootsie Roll in the little wrapper. Those are it's cement.
Yeah, I feel like those are kind of worthless.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing with a little tiny Tootsie Roll? Oh, put that in my mouth. A little half a bite of something. Give me something substantial.
Eno also adds for him it was Skittles and Milky Ways, and curse those who give away samples of toothpaste as their treat. That's not what you do. I've never had that happen.
Somebody really does? Did somebody do that?
No one's ever getting me toothpaste.
I'd rather get a razor blade than a sample of toothpaste. What kind of evil person does that?
Dentists. And then for me, the best, this is like the best / saddest Halloween costume for me, Corey, and then we'll move on to talk about football. By the way, James Blackman did take first-team reps in the portion of practice that we were able to watch. DeAndre Francois was out there and dressed. But I don't really think you'd say he was participating. He was out there with his teammates in the midst of the drills, but he wasn't actually taking reps. So there is that.
Right.
So then for me, it was I think it was Halloween 2005. I'd lingered with a couple of my friends for like an additional year after we graduated from Florida State. Just kind of living the dream, just living the dream, being an old creepy guy kind of in college. And there was 3 of us. And for whatever reason, I was just like, hey, we'll go as Bill and Ted. There was actually 2 of us. I'm like, let's go as Bill and Ted. I'll go as Keanu, and you can go as the other guy. I forgot. I don't know who's Ted Logan and which one's Bill S. Preston.
I think it's Alex Winter, maybe.
Okay.
Alex Winters. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, so wait, is Keanu Bill or Ted?
I do not remember that at all.
Yeah,
I only saw it once.
Yeah, see, I don't remember. Oh, you only saw it once?
Yeah, and I never saw the sequel.
Oh, man. How are we getting along on this show?
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I've seen that one plenty of times. Anyhow, so we go as Bill and Ted. I go as Keanu. I get like this Elvira black wig, but I chop it down so it looks just like Keanu's hair. There's a promotional photo of him in this red vest with a big smiley face on the back. I go to like Joanna Fabrics and craft it out. Dude, I looked just like Keanu. It was great. And then my buddy looked just like Alex Winter. He looked like, Ted S. Preston or Bill S. Preston. I looked like Ted Theodore Logan or vice versa, whatever. You get the point. Well, then we had a third guy who needed a costume. I'm like, why don't you just go as a Grim Reaper? Because in the sequel, they get thrown into the pits of hell and end up, like, befriending the Grim Reaper. So he went as a Grim Reaper. I go as Bill, and the other guy's as Ted or vice versa, whatever. We go to the Tennessee Strip for Halloween because one of our other buddies was actually a bartender, and nobody knew who we were. And I thought we absolutely killed it. I'm just like, dude, anybody who sees us is going to lose their flipping mind. They're going to be like, no way, that's so rad. I mean, nobody. We had to explain it to everybody. I don't know. I guess maybe that night on the Strip was just a bunch of 18-year-old freshmen in 2005, but they're just like, I don't get it. I'm like, what do you mean? It's Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bogus Journey, and nobody got it. So that let me know we'd stayed too long. We'd jumped the shark at that point, I guess.
Well, it's been probably, 14 years, 15, 16 years since that movie come out?
Well, I mean, I think like 88, it probably came out like in 88 or 89.
Yeah,
so 2005.
That's the deal, man. It'd be like, me dressing up like somebody in Ordinary People. Or, I was going to say Rocky, but I think Rocky's iconic enough that people would know it. Yeah. Like if I dressed up as, the mom from E.T., I don't know that anybody would really recognize who I am.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And also, I looked it up. It came out in 1989. Bill was Alex Winter. Keanu was Ted. Ted Theodore Logan.
All right.
Alex Winter was, Bill S. Preston. All right. That's the Halloween segment.
Cleared that up.
Yeah, we got that out the way. Next week, I think this is what I want to do, Corey. We'll produce on the air. I think I'm going to do my Notre Dame trip, the 15th year anniversary of the 2003 game where I went up there with all my friends. I think I want to do it as a 3-part piece, and we'll just do one part Tuesday, one part Wednesday, and then one part Thursday. It'll be the journey there, game day, and then the journey back. Think that'll be a winner?
Okay. All right. Are you going to have your friends on the air?
I don't think so. I think I'll just make it like an oral history by myself. Maybe I'll just play some soft music in the background. You can ask some queries as they come to mind, like, why did you do that? Why were you thinking there?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was there, too. Like, I was at that game, too.
Of course.
But I don't think I probably have the stories that you had. I was with my dad.
Yeah. Well, you never know. John Clark was a crazy man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about football. Let's satiate the masses. Practice looked somewhat similar to what we've seen. There's a couple different things we saw. I did ask Walt Bell. Again, you know me and my whole insecurity about asking good questions, the right questions, getting good information for our subscribers, warchant.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for a 30-day free trial. So I couldn't go off the top rope and be like, yo, Walt, what's up with Cam? How come he's not doing Wildcat? Duh, Wildcat with Cam. So I asked him if running back under center has run its course in football. And he scoffed. Oh, absolutely not. You can run the ball 100 million ways. Look at Wisconsin. I don't know. Is Wisconsin doing a lot of Wildcat these days? When
you say running back under center, that's technically incorrect because they're never under center. They're in the shotgun.
Well, yeah. Well, I couldn't. Yeah. See. Well, okay. All right. Well, that's the thing.
I think he might have been confused because I was confused.
Okay. Why don't you correct me then? Correct me, friend.
I thought you meant quarterback under center. I thought you were just talking about them taking every snap out of the shotgun.
Yeah.
And you misspoke.
Way to botch that one, Aslan. Well, anyhow. Well, that's, whatever. Walt's answer, basically, they know they have to still run the ball. They'll figure it out. They have a couple things left, he thinks, that they can try, which he's not going to obviously disclose to us, which is fine. I don't expect him to. But for the first time at practice, where they pretty much they just run the mesh point real quick during the few practice or the few periods that are open for the media to watch. Basically, just the quarterback gets the snap and either hands it off to the running back or keeps it himself. They just kind of work on the whole mesh point where they meet and hand the ball off or go their separate ways. Cam actually took a snap at quarterback in that drill and was faking the handoff to Amir Rasul and then kept it himself and ran. So that's, I don't know, encouraging is a word that we keep using on this program, and then we're at 4-4. But to me, okay, that's encouraging because that's one of the things I would imagine you would have tried by now. But I don't know. I mean, I guess when you do run the running back, when the running back's playing quarterback, the whole point of that is that you're blocked up better, right? You got 10 guys, blocking in unison or what have you. The numbers game just works out in your favor. But I don't know if it's one of those things where do they not have enough tight ends to make it work? Do they not have enough tackles that can also go out there and do their part? But the fact that they're trying to do that, I think, is a good thing. I would imagine, why not try that at this point with Cam, right? Or wrong?
No, for sure, man. Do whatever it takes for you to feel like you can get some first downs rushing. So Florida State is 127th in the nation in rushing. Out of 129 teams, they are 127th. The only two teams worse are Washington State, who never even tries to run the ball, and San Jose State, who might be the worst FBS team in the country. I mean, there's just really, you can't be this. You just can't be this bad. And they were bad last year, but not this is a whole new level of bad. So you should be trying any and everything to start some sort of a running game. And I'm serious. If it means Cam Akers or Keyshawn Helton or DJ Matthews taking every snap, do it. You need a running threat at quarterback. When you don't have a good offensive line, you need a quarterback that can move and run. I think, obviously everybody knows that my feelings about Francois and his mobility. It's not there. I think Blackman actually gives you a good deal more mobility right now because he's healthy. He's pretty quick. He can move a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, man, if he can't run the read correctly, or even if he runs it correctly, he's only getting 4 yards a pop or 2 yards a pop. Man, try anything, because this is embarrassingly bad. San Jose State is the only team in the country that averages less yards per rush than Florida State. San Jose State. Florida State's averaging 2.4 yards per carry. That's just impossible. It's impossible to win. It's impossible to have a running game. It's possible to have a good offense when you're averaging 2.4 yards per carry. So whatever it takes, man. And I guess that's kind of what I've been the most disappointed by when it comes to this offense. We get the limitations that he has with the guys blocking, but there's been no ingenuity. There's been no creativity. After the first game, I don't think Cam has taken a snap from the quarterback position. They just kind of gave up on it, and it just keeps getting worse, or at least it does not improve. They keep saying there's some things here and there, but whatever it is, it's not improving. And I don't know if Cam's the right answer, because Cam doesn't look like Cam. It hasn't. Like we talked about yesterday, we kind of tried to will him getting back to himself with the Wake Forest game, but that was just one run. He's just not a special football player right now. So maybe it's DJ Matthews or Keyshawn Helton or somebody else that's taking snaps. Heck, let Brian Burns do it. Just let Marvin Wilson do it. Let anybody do it. Just do something different, because running the same offense and trying to rush out of that formation with that quarterback, it's banging your head against the wall. And all you're doing is getting your forehead bloody because the wall's not moving.
Well, I guess maybe I don't want to say quick to forget, but you can only cling on to things for so long. But there were a few moments in some of those games. I think even the Virginia Tech game, which is so long ago, and that was completely different personnel out there on the offensive line, where, if Francois, again, I don't know if he was if it was an RPO or if it was, whatever, but there were some plays where if he would have handed it off, running back is probably gone for huge chunk plays. I think in the Samford game, there was a situation there where I think DeAndre, I think he actually didn't keep it for once, but if he handed it off, it would have been a big positive play. So maybe just that little semblance of physical confidence that James Blackman might have in his body being able to handle a run, when it's there, he'll be able to bust off something in the 15 to 20 yard range, and then you can start maybe handing the ball off to Cam, and it's not going to be as futile of an enterprise. This isn't a good thing, but maybe even Cam, with his guy now being the running back, maybe he'll run a little bit harder. It's obviously not a good thing. You don't want him to run anything less than 100%, no matter who's under center or not under center. But I think that's possible, a possible positive sort of development, if indeed it is James Blackman who's going to be the quarterback, because at this point we still don't know. But let's talk a little bit about that, but we'll pause and we'll talk about perhaps a quarterback of the future. We'll do a recruiting update with Michael Langston right after this. Keep it here. It's Wake Up War Chant.
You're listening to Wake Up War Chant, low-carb beer for the Seminole soul. Back to Aslan and Corey.
They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play, dance how they want to dance.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Wake Up War Chant. It is Halloween, which means, usually the recruiting stuff happens on Wednesday because the first Wednesday of every February is National Signing Day, which used to be a big deal, but now there's the whole early thing. And anyhow, Michael Langston moved his chat up to Tuesday night, so if you missed out on it, it's all right because he's here now with us on the program. Michael, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good.
Michael, you mentioned it a few weeks back. I think it was going into the Miami game. We just kind of asked you, what was that game going to do for recruiting? And you talked about, and because we all braced for the fact that Florida State was going to lose that game. A lot of us, I'm not including you, but there was a lot of us who kind of thought that maybe Florida State was going to lose to Miami badly. And that was the one thing you said couldn't happen, right? Like if Florida State wins, obviously good for recruiting. If they lose in a close game, it's really not that bad. But if you lose big margin of defeat, that's the problem. We just had that this past weekend against Clemson. What have you been able to piece talking to the kids who were in attendance and the ones who maybe even weren't in attendance?
Well, I think some of it's kind of a surprise, just some of them because you get so used to, hearing everything of how bad the fans view stuff, but then you talk to recruits, and I think under all the recruits, even targets, guys committed, not committed, I think most of them understand, if not all of them, that, this isn't really their fault. They're in their first year, so you can't really put all this blame on them. And I think the recruits are kind of looking at it. They're patient right now. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last. Now, at the same time, you have some where there's consequences to getting absolutely the crap kicked out of you all game long. There's consequences that they don't want to go through, like a rebuilding or starting over or waiting or being patient. Guys like defensive tackle Tyler Davis, guys like Kavarius Crouch, who officially visited FSU. I think both of those guys will end up at Clemson. So I think some kids are patient, and then some kids, are kind of like, I don't want to wait and go through that. I'd rather go to a program I know that's established. I don't have to worry about if there's going to be problems. And then you have, the stuff that Taggart brought up with the quitting and, culture type stuff, the weak mentality, and that's not a positive thing, to build on for recruiting. So, there's a lot to fix, and probably a lot more to fix than we originally thought when Taggart took over the job when Jimbo left. Jimbo left them with a lot more mess than we originally thought. There's a lot of things that we learned, like with their mentality, their weak mentality, and just the quitting part. That's something they're going to have to break, and so there's a lot to fix. But at the same time, I was surprised by how patient and in some cases it actually helped FSU that they were so bad, because then these recruits see a chance to play really early and possibly start as freshmen. So I think in some ways it helped them.
Yeah, so all things considered, Tyler Davis is a great prospect, and Kavarius Crouch was at one point the number one prospect in the nation. But overall, all things considered, losing in that sort of fashion, the worst home loss in program history, he got out of it about as unscathed as you could imagine when it comes to recruiting. It sounds like.
Yeah, it did. I'm sure a lot of commits. They weren't happy, but Curtis Fan came forward and was like, look, I'm with them all the way. I'm in all the ways, the commitment, defensive end. I think a lot of the commitments feel that way, and a lot of them are heavily tied in, and they've told them. They didn't say, oh, hey, guys, we're going to stink our first year. But they knew what challenge they had ahead of them, that you have major issues in the offensive line, probably the worst offensive line I've ever seen in FSU's history. They're horrendous. Linebacker play, you just don't have the players there. Cornerback, you need some help there. Obviously, Myers had a really tough day. And then on offense, you need a quarterback that can lead your team, to help you play the system that Willie doesn't have a quarterback that can run this system that he wants. So, and that's coming next year with Sam Howell, and Sam's kind of one of those guys as well that understands, like, hey, they got to get the guys in that can run their system. So kids understand that. Kids understand that, it's like King said, they just need more dogs. They need more dogs in here, and, they need more guys like him. And so the kids see it. It was not totally just a complete disaster for recruiting wise, but these kids are still believing in what they do. But I also think it's important to, the rest of the year to just show some kind of growth. And I think it's very important. I do a big conversation on War Chants, like who's starting at quarterback and stuff. But I think you need to evaluate every position. And if these guys are doing it in practice, these young guys, I think it will have a solid effect on recruiting if you play in these young guys and showing like, hey, we're using every bit of our roster guys. We're trying everything. And that's why I think whether they start James Blackman or DeAndre Francois, personally, I think Blackman, because he's the guy that, a lot of people don't know this, like James is one of the most popular players on that team. So he's very well respected. So they got to do something to keep this stuff together, and recruits notice that. And I think if you do that, I think it could be all right.
Michael Langston, warchant.com recruiting analyst, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. He's going to have plenty of nuggets up on the premium recruiting board. You need to be a member for that stuff. Use the promo code warchant30 to get a 30-day free trial to check up on that. Quarterback, obviously a big conversation. You just mentioned it there. Will it be Francois? Will it be Blackman? We don't know. But it sounds like Sam Howell remains, at least in the minds of a lot of the fans, the guy that this team needs to get on campus. You talked a little bit about him witnessing this Clemson game. What do you feel he got from his latest stop to Tallahassee after that game?
Well, I think it was interesting. He said, I really didn't care about the outcome of the game, and that's not why I came. It was kind of like I wanted to see, how they run their offense, and you mentioned how it was very similar to stuff that they run. And he felt like, you know what, I'm coming here to lead, and I'm not coming here just to, I'm just going to learn the system. He's coming there where he knows he can lead FSU, and he knows, let's not beat around the bush. He's the hand-picked golden boy for Willie Taggart. He's the guy that they hand-picked, him and Walt Bell, to run this offense. He runs a lot of read options in his offense. He's perfectly fit for this offense, and we've seen what Willie can do when he gets the perfect guy that runs his offense. Saw Quentin Flowers at South Florida. He was unreal there. So I think they understand that, and I think Sam understands that he's the guy. I think there's a realistic shot that he could be your starting quarterback as a freshman, and I don't think I'd said that at the beginning of the year, but just because he knows the system and he fits so well. Now, he's still going to have to adjust to the speed of the game. We'll have to see what happens once he gets here when he early enrolls, but to go from there. But Sam was really positive as far as understanding the process of, hey, Clemson's a developed program. Dabo's built a monster there. He understands that, and he understands that FSU is trying to build this stuff back up. I think the big general thing from Sam to George Pickens to all these guys that were there, all these visitors, is they understand the mess that they inherited. Like, that they inherited a big mess, and I think they're giving them a pass to get the guys in there to get this thing rolling the way they want to do. But I think a lot of what the kids understand, the recruits, is they need better personnel, and that's kind of where they come in. And I think a lot of the kids like Sam Howell, they understand what they're building, and they think once they get that in there, that FSU is going to be rolling. And that's the perception of recruits. That's the perception of Sam Howell. That's how they feel.
Man, that's all you can really ask for after you're sitting 4-4 and had a bad loss like that. The fact that guys like that are still heavily considering the Noles is definitely a positive sign. Again, folks, check out all of Michael's work. It's on the premium recruiting board over on warchant.com. Use the promo code warchant30 to check it out and get the very latest. One last thing I did want to ask you, though, Michael, before I let you go. I saw some people talking about this over on the Tribal Council on Warchant. Is there any credence to Josh Ball, the former offensive tackle who got expelled from school, or rather got suspended from the actual university for 2 semesters? He's at Butler Community College down in Kansas. Is that something that you're going to keep an eye on in terms of him returning to campus? That seemed like maybe a clean split, but there's some sort of rumbling out there. He's tweeted some things, it sounds like, where he's kind of considering Florida State still.
I mean, based on my end of things, of talking to people that I know in the recruiting aspect of stuff, I think there's some legs to it. I mean, that's the feeling I got. I mean, just talking to different people, even from, just the FSU side I trust, I think there's some legitimacy to it. That doesn't mean, hey, Michael's saying he's automatically coming back. I'm saying it's a possibility. It's not just a rumor that's just out of the blue. I think it's certainly a possibility, and I could see it happening. If I was picking, I would say it's likely to happen. But we'll have to wait and see on that. I know Gene's doing some heavy recon work on that. He's checking into that, and I know him and I are going to be all over that. But, I mean, just the people I talk to, perception, I think it's certainly a possibility.
All right, good stuff. Michael Langston, WarChant.com recruiting analyst, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. Thanks for your time as always, Michael.
You got it, man.
All right, we're going to step aside for a quick one. We'll be right back, reset. Be right back after this.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
I put a spell on you.
Corey, I don't know how big of a seminal moment it was in your life when MTV played Michael Jackson's Thriller. I don't want to get into who he was as a man, but just the artist. Dude, all these years later, like, Thriller still bumps.
Yeah, man, old MJ knew what he was doing, especially that album. I know people know, like the younger listeners, understand who Michael Jackson is and understand he was a huge pop star. But unless you lived it, I don't even think you were old enough to live through it. No, you definitely weren't. I was 7 or 8 when that album came out.
I got bad.
Everyone had it.
I got Bad and Dangerous. I got those.
Yeah, not the same. But that album, everybody had it. Everybody knew every song, not just the singles, but every song. It was incredible how big a deal he was. And I remember being so upset. Our cable, they were supposed to debut the making of Thriller. It was like a 30-minute, HBO did like a 30-minute documentary or an hour-long documentary on the making of the video. And then they were going to play, then I think MTV was going to debut the video right afterwards. And our cable went out. Oh. And I remember just being despondent. Like, and that wasn't, it was 1983, man. It wasn't like I could hop on YouTube when the cable went back and watch it or get on Twitter. I mean, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll see that next year. That was my one chance. That was our one chance to watch it, and I was just devastated. But, yeah, man, Thriller, that came on the bar I was at the other night, and everybody starts doing the Thriller dance because you can't not. It's just a great jam. It's just a great jam.
That beat, man, that beat. Just it's never gonna get old, man. It's never gonna get old. All right, there's a couple things we should talk about. First off, so quarterbacks. Obviously, the whole Blackman versus DeAndre debate. I mean, not even so much these guys against each other, but whether or not DeAndre is gonna maybe miss a game due to health concerns or whatever, and maybe James Blackman gets a start. He again did take first team reps during the open portion of practice on Tuesday. DeAndre was out there in pads amongst the quarterbacks, but wasn't participating in any drill that we had seen. But when we spoke to Walt, I went and listened to it. The last question we asked him was, Walt was kind of like, do you know how you guys are going to go about picking a starter for the game? And he kind of jostled playfully with us and said, listen, Willie said what he said. I'm a good soldier. I'm not gonna fall into the trap. But he the last thing that came out of his mouth was just, he's a tough kid. He'll be ready. So to me, that almost sounds like it's still going to be like, I don't want to say they're holding out hope, but the thought is that if he's healthy enough to maybe practice later today, go through the walkthrough on Thursday, then maybe he can actually still be the starting quarterback. But it looked like it was James Blackman's sort of week to shine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he did say that. I heard it too, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. He said he'll be ready to go. But I don't know if that's just a throwaway line he was saying as he was trailing off, trying to end the – because that was the last question.
Yeah.
So he was trying to trail it off and get ready to run to practice. So I don't know how much – if I put too much stock in it, but here, what's the point, man?
Yeah.
Just what's the point? Like, if Francois is banged up in any way, which he obviously is because he didn't practice, what's the point of not playing? Just give this kid a chance. His teammates love him. And more importantly than that, I think that is important, but more importantly than that, as we talked about yesterday, how can it get worse? Are you going to run for negative 20 yards? Like, how can it get worse? You have one of the worst. There are five Power 5 teams in the country that average less yards per game than Florida State. And it's like UCLA, Kansas, I think Louisville is one of them. It's just a train wreck of an offense. So I don't know if you remember, like at the beginning of the season, I thought what was going to be a luxury for Willie was that he did have a relief pitcher he could go to if the other guy wasn't playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had a guy that he knew had started, had been in games, and sometimes as a quarterback, like DeAndre from the first quarter on against Clemson, sometimes you just lose it. Sometimes you just don't make good throws. You struggle. And the beauty is that you have a guy that you can count on that, that has, I guess he can't count on him, or he doesn't think he can count on him, but a guy that's been on those stages and has played, big football games that you could go to. And he's just never gotten a sniff of the game. Like he's taken one meaningful snap the whole season, and that was the one play that DeAndre was out against Miami. So I thought that Willie would use his backup quarterback more. Not to say that DeAndre is the reason they're not doing well, just for something different, a spark, because you can't fire all 11 guys. So just a spark. Maybe he sees it differently. Maybe he runs it quicker. Maybe he just has a great day. But that hasn't happened. But at this point of the season, legitimately, what do you have to lose?
Your bowl streaks, consecutive winning streaks.
But those are kind of on the ropes anyway, man.
Yeah.
Like if it was guaranteed that DeAndre can have this thing humming, then okay, that's one thing. But he quite obviously doesn't. Yeah. The last two, Wake Forest, that's fine. He didn't play well. But the last two good defenses they faced, Miami and Clemson, what did he have? He had 65 yards in the first half against Clemson and 45 yards in the second half against Miami. So the last full game against two competent defenses, Florida State managed 110 yards in total offense. And I believe 0 points.
Yep.
So what's the point? Like, why not at least try it? If you're looking towards 2009, I think yesterday I wasn't this adamant about it, but I've really kind of changed my tune. Like, I just wouldn't understand the point of running 12 back out there.
No, I'm with you.
Because he's hurt, number one. There's no way he'd be 100%. He hasn't practiced. And also, you've seen it. You've got 8 games worth of proof. So see what this kid has. See it because his teammates love him so much, and because he's such a tough kid and a little quicker, maybe he does something with his offense and sparks it to, 3 yards to carry.
Yeah, what are the sort of tangible things you think he can do differently that would spark the team? I guess you talked about maybe he just has a good game. I
think he likes to throw the ball downfield more. So I think there's a chance our long-awaited prayer of just throwing balls up to 15 might actually come to fruition. And that was one thing we talked about on headlines that you and I have talked about repeatedly. And we also talked about it on the War Chant Report. Look, man, if you get man-to-man coverage on Tamorian Terry, which Clemson did it multiple times on Saturday, where the safety scoots the other side of the field where the receivers are bunched, and it is literally man-on-man. One dude on that side of the field with 15. Throw him the ball. I don't care if it's a go route. I don't care if it's a stop, and he tries to make the guy miss. And if he does, nobody's catching him. Throw the ball to the kid. And I do think maybe James Blackman would take more shots downfield. And I do think he's just, right now at this point in their careers, our body-wise, he's a better runner because he can't be worse. Francois is Danny Cannell. So get somebody that can move a little bit, and maybe that adds something to your running game. Just a little bit.
Will he have enough?
He's not putting flowers. But maybe he's just something. He can run for a first down occasionally. Maybe we'll see that.
Will he have enough time, though, to take shots downfield, or are we just hoping that he'll be able to – I mean, he'll have a little bit of a evasiveness to him, and he'll be able to climb the pocket and at least make some of those throws.
Yeah, well, that's what you hope, right? But let me say this, and again, it's all with the qualifier that I know who he was playing against. I know who he was playing against, that it wasn't the Clemson starters. But has Francois made a play like that all season? The one that Blackman made against Clemson? He made a dude miss, actually shook a guy, scooted up, kept his eyes downfield, used his legs, and made a throw that ended up being a 73-yard touchdown. We just haven't seen that at all season. And again, I don't think James Blackman is a better quarterback than DeAndre Francois. I don't. I think in a normal system with a competent offensive line, Francois would give you the best chance to win because I think he's a better thrower. But he is a bad marriage with this offensive line because he can't move and won't move. And with a bad offensive line, you've got to have somebody that can avoid pressure a little bit, maybe roll out and make plays with their legs. And again, I'm not talking about Michael Vick or Johnny Manziel or Baker Mayfield, just somebody that can evade pressure and scoot up or scoot over and then throw the ball downfield. And, again, I don't think either one of the answers is on this roster, but I feel like through 8 games, we can tell the way that DeAndre Francois, he can't move this offense with any sort of consistency. So, I mean, at some point, just try it to try it. I don't know. That's probably not fair to DeAndre, but
he's at 8 games, man. He's at 8 games. I don't want to compare him to Hugh Jackson. My friends keep trying to tell me that some people are arguing that Hugh Jackson got hosed. It's like, how did Hugh Jackson get hosed? The now former coach for the Cleveland Browns. And I'm not comparing the level of but at this point he's at 8 games. They've given him every combination of offensive line. I just don't know. Again, I don't. I'm sure it's going to be a tough pill for him to swallow because I'm sure DeAndre feels he's done everything right. He's gone to practice and put in the work, and he sat back there and tried to make plays happen and taken a beating, week after week. And this is the thanks I get, maybe sort of feeling it's not going to be fair, but. James Blackman I don't think he did anything wrong to lose his job going into the season either. So, I think he might have a more of a case that he's been the one that's been dealt more of a raw deal this season. My only concern is that ultimately, again, maybe there's 2 or 3 different things James can do in the course of a game that'll swing things in Florida State's favor that DeAndre wouldn't, whether that's, again, keeping the ball, making the right read, being able to actually climb in the pocket, make an actual throw on the run. To change the tide for Florida State in some of these games, give a team who's lacking confidence just a spark. Can you just imagine if Florida State can go down the field maybe and get a touchdown in their opening drive against NC State, just how much that could lift this team just of where they're coming from and the fact, all right, well, now we got this guy, maybe we can make things work, and just that kind of positive energy can feed off into another drive. My only concern is just that I can just see it playing out on War Chant, man. I can just see him not having maybe the best game, but it just being close enough and it doesn't work out, and then people come out the woodwork and, hey, told you it wasn't DeAndre's fault. Like, there's a certain faction of fans that for whatever reason, they're fans of Florida State, but when there's a quarterback and there's a competition, they'll pick a side of somebody and they'll die on that hill. And it's, hey, man, we're a 4-4 football team right now, and there's people kind of picking sides and this is wrong, and I just don't understand it because, to your point, again, not to belabor it and to talk in circles, but it's been 8 games, man, and it has not gotten better at all. I think when you start looking at Wake and Louisville, you look at the way those 2 teams played against each other, and you realize that those are not 2 good Division I football programs, Power 5 football programs. So you still got wins from them. That's what you needed to get, but this team should have been able to fight tougher in those sort of games and be more impressive to give you hope that you could bounce back from a Clemson game when you look that bad, but it doesn't really give you a lot of hope for that. Back to practice real quick, Corey, as we start winding down and wrapping things up here on Wake Up War Chant. They did start off with no drill. Nuck if your buck was playing. And the very first rep, the needle fell off the record and scratched. Kind of a bizarre one, right? Bizarre rep.
Which one?
Well, the first one, where Bavion Johnson, to his credit, is lined up against Marvin Wilson and blocked Marvin pretty well.
Yeah, he blocked Marvin. Well, he blocked Marvin away from the play. And so Anthony Grant ran to his right. And for people that don't know, what would you say that is, like a 5-yard alley that they get?
Yeah, about.
Probably. So Bavion Johnson did a good job of moving Marvin Wilson. Marvin Wilson, quite frankly, obviously wasn't very happy with that. So Anthony Grant runs by them to get to the second wave, which is where the tight end is trying to block the linebacker. And then Marvin Wilson still, hey, he's still competing, he's still trying, goes and tackles Anthony Grant from behind by diving in his legs and wrapping him up. And Anthony Grant hobbled off. He ended up being okay, it looked like. He just hobbled off for a few minutes, but Willie Taggart was not too happy about it. And with good reason. What are you doing? Like, that's not the point of the drill, is to see if you can tackle a running back from behind. The point of the drill is to block and shed block. And on that one, Bavion Johnson won. So why would you go back and dive and tackle one of your teammates? Like, from behind, that's how people get hurt. It's like a horse collar tackle. And I'm as big a fan of Marvin Wilson as anyone. And as I like to say, Aslan, you'd rather say whoa than giddy up. So I like that you're not having to say giddy up to the guy. You're having to say, whoa, slow down. But again, when you talk about football teams, trust me, Marvin Wilson is a very intelligent young man. But when you start talking about football teams being smart, well, man, that's just not a smart thing to do. It's just not smart.
Well, the thing here is it's not smart because you're tackling a potential solution maybe at running back from behind, and that could create all sorts of problems for him health-wise. But also, and Ira pointed this out the other day or last week, man, they're not in full pads. They've been in shells and helmets, I think, since the Miami game. They're not in. They don't have their thigh pads and their knee pads and everything on, and their hip pads. Like, they don't have anything on below the waist in terms of padding. So if you're Marvin Wilson and you're coming off-season knee surgery, again, I know MCL's ligament damage is a lot of that is the way you're shifting and moving. It's not necessarily blunt trauma to a joint. But, like, Marvin's diving at him, and Marvin's landing on his knees that aren't padded. Like, it's just the whole thing all around was not good. That was the absolute first rep of the day in that drill, and it set the tempo for what ended up being a pretty awkward opening period, because then later on, I don't know how much of this is just guys upset about being where they are right now, or you hear your coach talking about the fact that he saw some quitters, but then Wally and Derek Kelly are going one-on-one in the drill, and I don't know if it was a stalemate or who was winning what, but they would not let go, and Mark Snyder is running up to them, yelling at them like they're two kids at Six Flags, and they're fighting to knock it off, and just the way he was yelling at them made me feel really uncomfortable, and helmets come off, and they're yapping back and forth. No one got punched or anything, but it was just another sort of, I don't know, maybe you can laugh it off if you're 8-1 at this point in the season, or if you're 5-2, it's not that bad. But like when you're 4-4, within the frame of that, it just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, it's a frustrated football team, right? And it's a wounded football team. And so I feel like that kind of stuff is going to happen. I know the music's playing, but it's still football, and nobody's out there dancing. Like, they're all, there was another play where, and again, this physical stuff happens in the null drill. That's what it's there for. But Hamza Nasruddin just threw Keyshawn Helton down like a rag doll, and just walked off. Like, it's just, it wasn't doing anything dirty. He just, that was twice where FSU defenders, even though they're not supposed to be tackling, threw dudes to the ground or dove at guys and brought them down. And I think that's just a lot of frustration. I mean, how many How many guys on that roster have ever lost a game by 50 points in their life? It's not anything that computes with them. So it's hard to deal with, and I think there's some frustration you got. But I mean, I don't also necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like, I think wouldn't it be worse if they were out there dancing? Like,
oh, for sure.
They are mad and they are upset, and it was a frustrating. I'm sure they were all frustrated and trying to get some aggression out, which good. You'd rather that than the alternative when they're not. They don't care. They don't care enough to get in a fight, or they don't care enough to slam a guy down, or they don't care enough to try to dive at someone, even though it wasn't a smart thing to do. They're just out there dancing and laughing. That wasn't the case. So I think, I don't think it's a bad thing, but my bigger issue is just Marvin. Just, you can't do that, man. That's a teammate. You got to know better. How about, what if that was, anyone? What if that was even him? Like, Anthony Green, he might get some real playing time these last 4 games of the season. So don't dive at the guys. Don't dive at your teammates, because nothing good can come from it. It's a null drill. It's not even a scrimmage play, and you're not supposed to be tackling. So anyway, that was just a guy that you could tell was obviously frustrated, didn't enjoy being blocked for I'm sure the one time all year at null drill where he actually somebody got the best of him, and he wasn't happy about it.
We talking about no drill, not the game.
Yeah,
not the game. We're talking about no drill. Last thing before we go, Corey. At what point do we turn the page on the quitting talk? And I don't want to say it being a talking point, but in terms of it being something relevant to this team or asking questions, because on Tuesday we got the offensive coordinator, Walt Bell, and a few of the offensive players, and they were asked, I guess, that sort of question about, what does it feel like when you hear that word thrown around, and what can you do to get better? I spoke to DJ Matthews. I saw the interview with Cole Minshew. I don't know really what those kids can say, but it didn't sound like, like Brian Burns was all aboard that. He was like, I agree. I saw it. I was upset. Like DJ and Cole were just kind of shrugged it off. Hey, we just gotta play better kind of thing. It didn't sound like, I don't think anybody obviously appreciates being called a quitter. I don't think those two kids were the guilty party, but I wonder. I don't know if that was. It's tough to walk that back. I just wonder how that's going to play out, or if it's a fair thing to continue to ask these kids how it's affecting them, or if it has any effect in the locker room.
Yeah, I just think it's fair to ask, because it wasn't like we made it up. Like, their head coach said it. So when the head coach said it, it's certainly fair game to ask them about it, and if they agree. Brian Burns did. It seemed like some of the guys that we talked to on Tuesday did not, including James Blackman. He said he didn't think anybody quit. But, that also, you don't get the benefit of the doubt, man. That's 3 times in 3 years you've had games where you essentially just gave up. And that's, Florida State went decades without doing that. And now that's 3 times in 3 years at least where you kind of just given up. And then there was another game where you had to sign promise notes afterwards. So these guys don't get the benefit of the doubt. We've seen it enough. So for them to stop getting those questions, number one, their head coach doesn't maybe need to mention it anymore if he thinks that happened. But also, don't do it. Like, don't give them a reason to mention it. And then that will stop. I think this game will say a lot how they respond, because, it didn't seem like the guys were all that fired up about being called quitters. And I know Willie said it wasn't most guys. It wasn't even a lot. It was just a few. But it seemed like the guys we talked to took a little bit of umbrage with that, which is okay, fine. Well, go prove that you're not. Go play hard. Even if you lose on Saturday, play hard. Keep playing. And then, look, man, there's a very, very good chance you're going to face something similar against Notre Dame, where you're down by multiple touchdowns and you have no chance of winning. So let's see what they look like when that happens in South Bend, because that's where you'll see some progress, which, again, it's just bizarre to be talking about the state of a football program where you're looking to see how they handle blowouts. And if they've learned anything from one blowout, to take it to the next blowout they're about to have. But, man, that's where we are. That's where we are. Wake up. Wake up.
What I mean,
you get to compare blowouts, see if they learn lessons.
I mean, whatever we all mortgaged to make 2013 happen is just I was thinking about that the other day. I mean, it's just like, it hasn't worked out for Rashad. Kelvin's not looking all that good in the pros. Jameis isn't looking good. Everybody on defense is doing all right, but like everybody involved in the offense in 2013 that we thought they were just scratching the surface of their great talent in life, it's just, man, it's been a rough 2018. Hopefully it'll all get better for everybody involved with that great success story soon enough. All right, Corey, I don't know, just have a good Halloween out there. Do you give Brady a pillowcase to take out when he goes trick-or-treating, or does he just take a bag? Or is he even going to go trick-or-treating?
He's got he's going trick-or-treating. He's got like a little pumpkin, like one of those plastic pumpkins that has a handle that you dump all the candy into that.
Oh, come on. Give him a pillowcase. That's what the pros use, man.
A pillowcase like Charlie Brown? Yeah. Kids don't roll around with pillowcases anymore, do they?
I did. It's durable. You can carry so much candy in it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm only going to let him eat like 8% of it. So he doesn't really need a pillowcase.
What do you do with the rest? Donate it to like a food shelter?
Or I'll eat it, and then I'll give it to other kids.
Look at you. Peter Pan, or Robin Hood, rather. Robin Hood. The
Well, yeah, exactly right. Robin from Brady to give to deserving kids.
All right, man. Good stuff. I appreciate it. Not you. I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for listening, everybody. Corey, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll take everybody's questions on the Renegade Express, and we'll do the same thing on Friday as well. Again, 850-792-5730. Again, he's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant.